जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे, हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजिकाचार्य अस्तो ततश्छठ श्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणार बिंद भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजिकाचार्य अस्तो ततश्च श्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीम् उत्तमाश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Hare Krishna, thank you so much for being here today. We will be discussing Srimad Bhagavatam's 10th canto, 54th chapter, 42nd verse. Please repeat after me. Taveyam, Taveyam, Visma, Buddhihi, Taveyam, Visma, Buddhihi, Sarva, Bhuteshu, Duhridam, Sarva Bhuteshu Dhruhridam, Yan Manyase Sada Bhadram, Yan Manayase Sada Bhadram, Suridam Bhadram Agyavat, Suhridam Bhadram Agyavat, Taveyam Visama Buddhi, Sarva Bhuteshu Dhuridam, Yan Manayase Sada Bhadram, Suhridam Bhadram Agyavat. Please. Taveyam Visama Buddhihi, Sarva Bhuteshu Dhuridam, Yena Manayase Sada Bhadram, Suridam Bhadram Agyavat, Taveyam Visama Buddhi, Sarva Bhuteshu Dhuridam, Yan Manayase Sada Bhadram, Suridam Bhadram Agyavat, Taveyam Vishama Buddhi, Sarva Bhuteshu Dhuridam, Yan Manyase Sada Bhadram, Suridam Bhadram Agyavat, Taveyam Visama Buddhi, Sarva Bhuteshu Dhuridam, Yan Manyase Sada Bhadram, Suridam Bhadram Agyavat. Word to word meaning, please chant responsively. Tava, your. Iyam, this. Visama, biased. Buddhi, attitude. Attitude. Sarva Bhuteshu, toward all living beings. Dhuridam, of those who have ill intentions. Yat, that. Manyase, you wish. Sada, always. Abhadram, evil. Suhridam, to your well-wishers. Bhadram, good. Agyavat, like an ignorant person. Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. To Rukmini, Balram said, your attitude is unfair, for like an ignorant person, you wish good to those who are inimical to all living beings, and who have done evil to your true well-wishers. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ulmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Padamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam वंदेहम श्री गुरो श्री युतपद कमलम श्री गुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्री रूपम साग्र जातम सहगना रघुनाथान्वितम तम सजीवम साद्वैतम सावधूतम परिजना सहितम कृष्ण चैतन्य देवम श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगना ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश्वर गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्ते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानु सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वांछा कल्पतरोभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो. So today's verse, the translation is your attitude. Rukmini, to Rukmini, Balram is saying, first Balram was pacifying Rukmini. To Rukmini, Balram is saying, first Krishna is not doing the right thing. He wants to kill her brother. But now he is also giving good instructions to Rukmini. He wants to kill that seemingly she is taking the side of her brother. Seemingly. To save his life. So, translation is your attitude is unfair. For like an ignorant person, you wish good to those who are inimical to all living beings, and those who have done evil to your true well-wishers. So, who is the person here who is doing evil to all living beings? Her brother, Rukmini. Who are Rukmini's well-wishers here? Balram is asking her, who are Rukmini's well-wishers? Her well-wishers are himself, Krishna, all the Yadu dynasty, her own father. Rukmini's father wanted her to marry Krishna. But Rukmini's father always had demonic associations of evil warriors like Jarasandha, Krishna's cousin Shishupal, who was always blaspheming and insulting Krishna. So Rukmini is favoring her brother. But Lord Balram is saying that's not her real duty. He's inferring that's not her real duty. As a spirit soul, then the question arises, as a spirit soul, what is our real duty? And we will talk about that later part of today. I will be referring to a book written by Bhakti Vinod Thakur called Jaiva Dharma. I will be referring to a book written by Bhakti Vinod Thakur called Jaiva Dharma. So I will be referring to Balram is also saying to Rukmini in the verse, your attitude is unfair and is of an ignorant person. So how does Rukmini has a poor attitude? She has always been humble, always very chaste woman. She is desiring that Krishna be her husband. But Lord Balram, Krishna's brother, is saying she has a desiring attitude that is unfair and is of an ignorant person. So we'll talk today about the idea that I got from this verse. Family attachment versus attachment for Krishna. The idea that I got from this. We have a devotee family, we can serve Krishna better. But sometimes devotee family, we can serve Krishna better. The real duty of the soul is be subservient to God, Krishna. And real duty of the soul is not be caught in the network of material world relations. So this is a tug of war. One side is the family attachment, other side is the attachment for Krishna. And this is to teach us, Rukmini is on the transcendental platform, but this conversation between Rukmini, Balram and Krishna is taking place for our in Bhagavad Gita 2.9, Sanskrit is Sanjay Vacha Evam Uktva Rishikesham Gudakesham Parantapa Na Yatsa Iti Govindam Uktva Tusmin Bhava Na Ha. Sanjaya said, having spoken thus, Arjun, the chastiser of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight. The chastiser of enemies. When the war of Kurukshetra was taking place, Arjuna had bowed, he was seeing all these soldiers, and he could just foresee that all his family members on his side and on on the enemy's side, there will be a big destruction. All his family members on his side, lot of his family members may not even survive the war. So in the purport, Arjuna tells Krishna, see, I do not want this kingdom if my family members may not be alive. Krishna tells Arjuna, this is a holy war, but Arjuna gives up and he said, Govinda, Krishna, I shall not fight. And he fell silent. He made a decision. But in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying, although Arjuna was for the time being overwhelmed with the false grief due to family affection, he surrendered unto Krishna, the supreme spiritual master, as a disciple. This indicated that he would soon be free from false lamenting resulting from family affection and would be enlightened with perfect knowledge of self-realization or Krishna consciousness and perfect would then surely find. So there was this parallel that I could see, that Rukmini showing affection towards her brother, and Arjuna also showing affection towards his brothers, grandfather, his uncle, and thus not performing his duty as a warrior. Bhagavad Gita 9.17 purport. Krishna gives the real definition. Prabhupada is explaining the verse what Krishna mentioned to Arjuna, and Prabhupada is giving the real definition of every spirit soul. And Prabhupada is giving the who does a spirit soul really belong to? The purport Prabhupada is writing, in material existence, we create different relationships with different living entities who are nothing but Krishna's marginal energy. But under the creation of Prakriti, material energy, some of them appear as our father, mother, grandfather, creator, etc. But actually they are parts and parcel of Krishna, etc. But they are nothing but parts and parcel of Krishna. Similar idea, Bhagavad Gita 2.7 purport. This may seem little harsh, but Prabhupada does mention that affection for the person having same bodily features as ours, same skin colors as ours, is a skin disease. Purport Prabhupada writes that the kripanas or miserly persons waste their time in being overly affectionate for family, society, etc. in the material conception of life. One is often attached to family life, namely all the members of society, which is the basis of skin disease. Kripanas think that he is able to protect his family members from death. Such family attachments can be found even in lower animals who take care of children also. Being intelligent, Arjuna could understand that his affection for family members and his wish to protect them from death were the cause of his perplexities. Although he could understand that his duty to fight was awaiting him still on account of miserly weakness, he could not discharge his duties. To make a definite solution, he asks Krishna and offers himself to be his disciple. So Arjuna is showing that when we are perplexed in our problems in this material world, we should take shelter of Krishna. Our conception of reality is far different from the conception of absolute reality. All the warriors in Kurukshetra, even though they were family members of Arjuna, Duryodhana, Uncle Shakuni, they all committed lots of sinful activities, and Krishna says they must be punished. They are not an ideal ruler, and they will cause even more misery to the population. So Krishna's plan was macroscopic. He wanted all the citizens of Kurukshetra, of the descendants of the people fighting in Kurukshetra, to live a religious life, which was not possible to being the rulers they had at that time, which was not possible, which were exploiting their being the rulers they had at that time, citizens by exploiting taking more taxes. And Yudhishthir was supposed to be the ideal ruler, but taking more taxes, they did not let that happen. So Krishna made a decision that this war will happen. So Krishna tells Arjuna that you're making this inquiries that how will they be saved, they not be saved. These are all false questions. In my mind, they are already dead. Even if you fight or no fight, their death is going to happen. They are already dead. Even if you fight or no fight, their death is going to happen. They are already dead. Even if you fight or no fight, their death is going to happen. They are already dead. Even if you fight or no fight, their death is going to happen. So Rukmi is also a demon here. If Krishna wants to kill him, he must die. How is a demon? Bhagavad Gita 3.29 explains. Actually, Rukmi's father wanted Rukmini to marry Krishna, but Rukmi did not accept that decision. Prabhupada is writing, in the system of Varnashrama institution, there are many principles of religious traditions to help members of family grow properly and attain spiritual values. The elder members are responsible for such purifying process in families, beginning from birth to death. But on the death of the elder members, such family traditions of purification may stop, and remaining younger family members may develop irreligious habits, thereby losing their chance of spiritual salvation. So it's same as not considering the good instruction of his father, who is a saintly king. Rukmi is not obeying the decision and forcing his idea that Shishupal is a better man, hence his sister should be married to Shishupal instead of Bhagavad Gita 2.15, Arjuna, in the purport Prabhupada is writing, Arjuna discharged his duties as a Kshatriya. He was advised to persevere, even if it was difficult to fight with his family members or similarly beloved persons. Lord Chaitanya took sannyas at the age of 24, and his dependents, young wife as well as his old mother, had no one else to look after them. Yet, for his higher cause, he took sannyas and was ready in discharge of his higher duties. This is the way of achieving liberation from material bondage. This is the way of achieving liberation. This is what we can also see the parallel here, that or Balram is telling Rukmini that this is not good, that of her taking side of her brother instead of taking side with the Yadus. Her brother instead of taking side with the Yadus. Yes, this in Bhagavatam 11th canto 5th chapter 41st verse. This is one of my favorite verses. It says that in the translation it says that anyone who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda means Krishna, the giver of liberation, giving up all kinds of obligation, and has taken to the path in all seriousness, owes neither duties nor obligations to demigods, sages, general living entities, family members, humankind, or forefathers. Krishna is the root. If we serve Krishna, we are serving all living entities. And if we are not serving Krishna, even though we serve all the living entities, our service to mankind is incomplete. Similarly, Madhavendra Puri is saying very nice point here. It's also in Bhagavad Gita, one of the purports. He's offering prayers to Krishna and saying, "O Lord, in my prayers 3 times a day, all glory to you. Bathing, I offer obeisances unto you. O demigods, O forefathers, please excuse me for my inability to offer you respects. Please excuse now, wherever I sit, I can remember the great descendant of the Yadu dynasty, Krishna, wherever I see the enemy of Kamsa, and thereby I can free myself from all sinful bondage. I think this is sufficient for me. I think this is sufficient for me to worship Krishna and offer my obeisances to him. But Prabhupada is explaining how can one be happy in family life. The best process of making home pleasant is Krishna consciousness. If one is in full Krishna consciousness, he can make his home very happy. Because this process of Krishna consciousness is very easy. One needs only to chant Hare Krishna, accept the remnants of foodstuff offered to Krishna, and have some discussions on Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, and engage oneself in deity worship. These four will make one happy. Actually, the introduction of Chaitanya Bhagavat, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is saying that when we discuss and glorify the Supreme Lord, this is the solution to all material perplexities. All material problems can be transcended when we glorify Krishna. So what we are doing in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita discussions, we are glorifying Krishna. And this is the ultimate solution to all material perplexities. And this is the ultimate solution to so now we will read understand more about family life and family attachments, affections from the eyes, from the lenses, from the perception of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. He has written 4 song books, and one of those song books is called Sharnagati, surrender. And one of those song books is called Sharnagati. He mentions similar things that how being attached to Krishna and family life, one can be happy, but not attached to Krishna and not serving Krishna in the family can make family life burdensome and sometimes even averse to advancement in Krishna consciousness. And sometimes even averse to advancement in Krishna consciousness. And sometimes even averse to advancement in Krishna consciousness. Yes. The song is called The song is called Bhuliya Tumare. He says, Krishna, I forgot you. This is the name of the song. And in Bhakti Vinod Thakur songs, they have divided the songs in different moods. So this is the song in the mood of humility. I'll read the translation. O Lord, because of forgetting your lotus feet, I have come into this material world. Ever since that time, I have been suffering various material miseries. Ever since that time, I have approached your lotus feet to tell you the tale of my distress. O Lord, when I was within the womb of my mother, as a result of my karma, you gave me darshan. Darshan means as a result of my vision of Lord. But ever since then, I have been deprived of your mercy. At that time, I thought I would worship you after being delivered from the womb. After my birth, however, I forgot you because I became entrapped in a network of illusion. In fact, I don't even have a tinge of genuine knowledge. In fact, I became a pampered child and spent my time enjoying the affection of my relatives. In this way, I became completely engrossed in the affection of my father and mother, and so I began to like this material world. Gradually, I grew up. Day by day, I began to play with other young boys. After some time, when I became a little mature, I concentrated on my studies. O Lord Hari, being puffed up because of my education, I traveled from place to place earning money. I took care of my family members with great care, and in this way I completely forgot my family members with great care. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur laments, I have become old and afflicted with various kinds of distress. O Lord, I have wasted my life by not worshipping your lotus feet. What will be my destination? I have wasted my life by not worshipping your lotus feet. What will be my destination? So these songs of Bhaktivinoda Thakur are the stories of our life also. Earlier we were discussing songs and prayers of Narottam Das Thakur. But Bhakti Vinod, which is for more for devotees, but Bhakti Vinod Thakur songs are for all classes of people. In the introduction of the book, it's written that by means of these songs, Bhakti Vinod Thakur hopes to attract everyone to the path of devotional service. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur's songs are proof of his causeless mercy upon the fallen souls of the entire world. So when we read these songs, may seem pretty harsh. Somebody is reading it for the first time. May think that Krishna consciousness is for the first time. Pessimistic thinking. But this is a transcendental grief. This is a transcendental lamentation. The soul has, because the soul is yearning for Krishna, but it's wasting time in the material world, being engaged in different activities. So, even though it may seem like a bitter pill to swallow, but it is the reality we should be aware of. In one of the songs, Bhakti Vinod Thakur is saying, "O Lord, I spent my childhood songs and my youth studying. I never came to my senses. When I grew up and became a man, I entered family life, being driven by the spirit of enjoyment. Soon I became surrounded by many children and friends. At last, I am now overcome by old age, so that all of my happiness has deserted me. I have become miserable due to suffering from so many diseases. My senses have become weak and my body has become thin. My mind has become morose due to lack of enjoyment." See, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is telling us when we are afflicted with so many difficulties with our body and with our mind, it's very difficult to practice Krishna consciousness. So, when we have opportunity, we should engage in devotional service and not waste our time in trivial things. That's what he says. And not waste our time in trivial things. That's what he says. And not waste our time in trivial things. One more song he's writing. One more song. He's offering prayers to Krishna. He's offering everything to Krishna. So he's writing, whatever I possess, my body, house, servants, brothers, friends, wife, children, and household paraphernalia, all belong to you now, Krishna. I am your servant, and I simply live in your house. You are the owner of my household. I am just a servant. From now on, all my endeavors will be directed towards giving you happiness. I am no longer concerned about whether the activities performed by my gross and subtle bodies are pious or sinful. Because, O Lord, I have taken shelter of you, and so all my activities are in your service. His offering is all his relationships to Krishna also. They are your now, my Lord. Now I am your servant and I am just taking care of your servants. My desires have now merged with your desires. For now, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur completely forgets his former self. He forgets his bodily identities and dovetails all his relationships to Krishna. This is the perfect song I thought we should read today. Given the context of how family affection can help us advance in spiritual life also, if they are devotees, but it can be averse to our Krishna consciousness if they are not devotees. Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings, O Lord, there is nothing in this world that is mine. You are certainly my mother, my father, my well-wishing friend, and my brother. All of my friends, my wife, my sons, and my daughters are your servants and maidservants. According to this understanding, I maintain my relationship with them. According to this understanding, I maintain my relationship with them. Because my wealth, followers, household articles, and wife all belong to you, I, as your servant, are simply maintaining them. I will earn money so that I can be utilized in your service. I will spend it to maintain your household. I do not know what is good and what is bad. I simply engage in your service. Actually, I am a security guard at your house. He's saying his house is not belonging to him. It's belonging to Krishna. Krishna is the owner of the house. He's saying, I'm just a security guard in that house. Thought that was a very good devotional way of seeing the reality. According to your desire, I engage my senses in various activities like hearing, seeing, smiling, and eating. In this way, I engage myself in fulfilling my desires. I no longer endeavor for my own happiness. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that his pleasure lies in happiness of Krishna. Then, one song, in the first and last paragraph, I could see the connection between what we were reading today. The first stanza says that with great care and attention, I will give up all those activities that are unfavorable for rendering devotional service unto you. I do not respect that time which I am unable to use for your devotional service. If my relatives are averse to you, I consider them to be strangers. And this is what Rukmini does show. When Balram and Rukmi were having a fight because Rukmi was cheating Balram and insulting Lord Balram in public, making false accusation that Lord Balram has lost in a chess game. When Lord Balram killed Rukmi, Rukmini remained silent. She shows that if my relatives are not devotees of you, they are strangers to me. I don't know them. I do not know them. But as I said, if they are devotees, it will help us advance in Krishna consciousness. One song Bhaktivinoda Thakur is writing, whenever there is performance of the chanting of the holy name of the Lord in my house, the whole atmosphere appears to be like Goloka. I feel unlimited happiness when I see Ganges which has emanated from Lord's lotus feet. So when he sees that there is kirtan happening in his home, he feels to him like he is in Golok Vrindavan. If he's seen Golok Vrindavan, then there is Golok Vrindavan there. So these were the few things from Bhakti Vinod Thakur songs about family relationships. Now, as I promised, we will see the duties of a spirit soul towards Krishna. What is the real duty of Krishna? As Balram was saying that to Rukmini, that your attitude is unfair. She is wishing good for somebody who is inimical towards all inimical towards all living beings. But she is showing her duty as a sister. So what is the real duty of a living being? In this second chapter of the book Jaiva Dharma, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is writing, divine love in his eternal function and service to Krishna is what is meant by divine love. Hence, service to Krishna, which is the nature of prema, is the constitution function of jiva. So our real duty is service to Krishna. This is an interesting book. There is the conversation taking place between Sannyasi Thakur, who is from a Mayavadi background, and Premadas Babaji, who is a Vaishnava. And Sannyasi Thakur is asking questions to Premadas Babaji, and he is replying that what is the real duty of soul. It's written here. Hearing this, Sannyasi Thakur inquired with great delight, "O Master," Sannyasi Thakur is very respectful of Premadas Babaji, and he is also being influenced by Vaishnava culture, and he ultimately accepts the Vaishnava concept. And he's asking question, he's very respectfully. Hearing this, Sannyasi Thakur inquired with great delight, "O Master, if Jiva is infinitesimal, how can his eternal dharma be full and unadulterated? If the natural function of the Jiva is formed at the time he is constituted, how can that function be eternal?" Says that we have come into being at some point in time. So how can our function as service into Krishna be eternal? Are there no exceptions to this reality? Are there no exceptions that maybe at this time I can often render service to somebody else? How is that if we came at one point in time, our service to Krishna is eternal? So Premadas Babaji is explaining, the jivas are Krishna's innumerable atomic particles. Just as spark emanates from an unremitting fire, the jivas emanate from Krishna, who is the embodiment of immutable consciousness. Who is an embodiment of immutable consciousness. So we are particles coming from Krishna, but now Krishna is immutable. This is the source. This is not mutable. Just as every spark is endowed with the potency of complete fire, and every jiva is a fit basis for the display of the full function of consciousness, a single spark is in contact with flammable object and can kindle a blazing fire which can incinerate the entire world. Similarly, even a single jiva can bring a great inundation of love by obtaining Krishna Chandra, who is the object of love. As long as he fails to contact the real object of his spiritual function, the infinitesimal conscious jiva is incapable of exhibiting the natural development of that function. In reality, it is only when the soul is in connection with its object that the spiritual function of soul comes into light. So, it's all mechanical if we are not connected with Krishna. Our reality, our real function as a soul only comes into light when we come in contact with Krishna. That's what Premadas Babaji is explaining. The jiva's course of material existence comes into effect as soon as the attitude of service to Krishna is forgotten. We are marginal potency. As soon as we forgot Krishna, we come into the material consciousness. As long as jiva remains pure, he identifies himself with his unadulterated spiritual function. We are pure as long as we remember that our only service is to serve Krishna. Our only identity is to be serving Krishna. Due to jiva's connection with Maya, his pure constitutional identity becomes covered by subtle and gross bodies. Consequently, a different egoism emerged in subtle body. Now we get material mind as soon as we get into the idea of not serving Krishna. And then it says, then we identify ourselves with our mind, and after that we identify ourselves with our gross body. In his spiritual form, the jiva is exclusively the servant of Krishna. In the subtle body, the jiva considers himself to be the enjoyer of the fruits of his action. At that time, the egoism of Being a servant of Krishna is covered by his identification with subtle body. The jiva then obtains a gross body and thinks, I am Brahmana, I am king, I am poor, I am miserable, I am overwhelmed with disease and lamentation, I am woman, I am master of various people. He thus identifies himself with different types of gross bodily conceptions. As soon as we forget Krishna, as soon as we think that we are supposed to render service into somebody else, that is the beginning of all the problems. We get a mind, we get a body, we identify ourselves with the body, and then we identify ourselves with a lot of other things. Just because we forgot or we fail to observe ourselves as the servants of Krishna, that our only function is to render service unto Krishna, not to our brothers, sisters. If they are devotees of Krishna, then yes. For jivas who are bound by matter, there is a great need of sambandha jnana, knowledge of soul's engagement in material and its relationship with Supreme Lord. So we should understand, Premadas Babaji Maharaj is saying, we should understand that we belong to Krishna and we are bound up in this material entanglement, and we will be able to get out as soon as we start rendering service to Krishna. You should understand clearly what is meant by prema, what is love. The unadulterated function by which one transcendental entity is spontaneously attracted to another transcendental entity is known as prema. When one transcendental entity is attracted to another transcendental entity, that is love. Somebody is not transcendental, it's not love. Prema cannot be affected unless there is separate existence of two transcendental entities. The dharma by which all transcendental entities are eternally attracted to supreme transcendental entity, Sri Krishna Chandra, is known as Krishna Prem. The eternal separate existence of Krishna Prem, Krishna Chandra, the eternal separate existence of jivas, and the jiva's tendency to seek him are eternally established truths which constitutes the ideology of prema. So love is the relationship between Krishna and spirit souls. Spirit souls seeing other spirit souls as part and parcels of Krishna, there is love between them. There is love between one transcendental entity and another. As soon as we forget Krishna, there is no question of love. This is what Premadas Babaji is saying. Srimad Bhagavatam propounds the highest truth from which all pretentious religiosity has been rejected. Religiosity means duty. Duty means duty to family, nation, brother, sister. This is all rejected in Srimad Bhagavatam. Nonetheless, my personal conviction is that prior to Sri Krishna Chaitanya, no one has given the full instructions on the religion of unalloyed Krishna Prema. If you have faith in my words, then you may accept the conclusion. He's saying that actually Krishna Prema, the most pure form of Krishna Prema, directly imported from Golok Vrindavan, is only been given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How the true function of jiva can be eternal if it is formed at the time he's constituted. So now he's asking, how is that can be eternal? There's some point in time that I was formed. How am I supposed to render service unto Krishna eternally? Why can I not service render to family members instead of Krishna? Then Premadas Babaji is explaining time. It looked like he was explaining time like a scientist would. He says, time in the spiritual domain exists eternally in the present. In spiritual time, there are no intervals represented by divisions of past and future. Past, present, and future is born out of material time. The jivas and Krishna exist in spiritual time. Therefore, jiva is eternal and ever-existing, and his unadulterated function of loving and serving Krishna is also eternal. Though I have stated all of this, you will be able to understand the true import of these words only to the extent of your realization and experience of unalloyed spiritual realm. Then he says that if you don't have spiritual experience, all these things of serving Krishna, our identity is to only serve Krishna, love means with Krishna, if you don't have spiritual experience, this will all seems like a theory to you. You will not understand. Then he says that how will you be able to get this spiritual realization? First, you should cultivate the realization of pure spiritual identity and practice chanting the pure holy name of Krishna. Then your spiritual function, known as Jaiva Dharma, spiritual function, this is the name of the book, Jaiva Dharma, will manifest prominently. Only the cultivation of activities directly maintained for the pleasure of Krishna can bring about the manifestation of Jiva's Nitya Siddha Dharma, or eternal spiritual functions. Only the cultivation of activities directly meant for the pleasure of Krishna can bring the manifestation of our eternal spiritual function. So, even though we don't have realization, we engage in service of Krishna, and slowly, we will realize our eternal spiritual function. Yes, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm always supposed to serve Krishna. I do not want anything else out of this service. I am serving Krishna because I want to serve Krishna more. By chanting Hare Krishna regularly, within a short time, by chanting Hari Nam regularly, within a short time, unprecedented attachment will develop for the holy name, accompanied by the direct experience of the spiritual realm. Narottam Das Thakur says that Golokera Prema Dhan Hari Nam Sankirtan. This sound, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, this sound is not a sound of this material world. This sound is not born in material time. This sound is imported from the spiritual world. That's why Premdas Babaji is saying, by chanting Hari Nam regularly, within a short time, unprecedented attachment will develop for the holy name, accompanied by direct experience of spiritual realm. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Leela 4.70, it says, of all the different types of spiritual practice, the 9 forms of bhakti are the best. What are the 9 forms of bhakti? The 9 forms of bhakti which Prahlad Maharaj mentions. Because they have, of all the different types of spiritual practices, 9 forms of bhakti are the best, because they have tremendous power to deliver Krishna and Krishna Prema. Of the 9 practices, Nam Sankirtan is preeminent. By chanting the holy name of Krishna without offense, one obtains the priceless wealth of Prema. So if we very sincerely chant Hare Krishna mantra, we will overcome offenses, and then we will get something which is priceless. We can never buy it by any material accusations, which is the wealth of Krishna Prema, the wealth of love for Krishna. O Mahatma, Mahatma means great soul. If you were to inquire as how to recognize a Vaishnava, I would respond that one who has given up all offenses and chants the holy name of Krishna with great feeling is a Vaishnava. So who is a Vaishnava? Who is chanting Hare Krishna mantra with sincerity is Vaishnava. See, we hear different definition of who is advanced devotee, who is intermediate devotee, who is neophyte devotee. But Premadas Babaji is giving a different definition of Kanishta, Madhyam and Uttam Adhikari. One who occasionally chants the name of Krishna is Kanishta Vaishnava. One who the intermediate, the neophyte Vaishnava, who sometimes chant Krishna's holy name. One who constantly chants the name of Krishna is Madhyam Vaishnava, is intermediate Vaishnava. And that person whose very presence causes the holy name to appear on one's lip is Uttama Vaishnava. The advanced Vaishnava is by whose mere presence everyone's chanting Hare Krishna. When Srila Prabhupada came to the United States, he established so many centers, and practically all over the world people were chanting Hare Krishna. Premadas Babaji is saying this is the definition of an advanced Vaishnava. According to the instructions of Mahaprabhu, no other criteria is necessary to discern who is Vaishnava. On that day, after hearing this, Sannyasi Thakur got so much faith that yes, I should chant Hare Krishna mantra. I will. That is a definition of Vaishnava. Even though it's look like to other people externally I'm a Mayavadi, but if I'm chanting the name of Krishna with full sincerity, I'm a Vaishnava. Says on that day he experienced a natural taste for Harinam. Offering prostrated obeisance unto the lotus feet of his Guru, he said, O Master, O friend of the destitute, please bestow your mercy upon this wretched soul. So these were the few things that I compiled today. Anything that you would like to add to this discussion will be very appreciated. If not, our time is up, we'll end the discussion.
I just wanted to thank you for your class, and maybe at another time we can even talk about it even more. It's very inspiring, especially when it comes to love, and prema. Because the word prema and the word love are not like interchangeable. In one of the statements that you were speaking of, how we have to be able to, when Prabhupada says this word love is only applicable with Krishna, one who sees me, then he also says, Krishna says, one who sees me everywhere is never lost to me. But it has to be from a level of realization to use that word love.
Yes, bro.
Not because the English definition just means affection. But when it comes to prema, and we see a living entity and we still can say, I have prema for you, that's a deep level. Mm-hmm. It has to be realized.
Yes.
But I thought the class was so amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Mostly the ideas of Bhakti Vinod Thakur in the songs, not my ideas.
From one of the purports of Srila Prabhupada early on in the class, from Bhagavad Gita, probably the second chapter, since you were drawing from there quite a bit, the mention that all spirit souls belong to Krishna. It's an interesting thing because that there's that tendency to want to possess or to be somehow see another living entity as part of oneself, meaning one's family member. So it's a very interesting thing that one has to shift that thinking to the connection with that person is only in relation to them being a soul that belongs to Krishna. I mean, it's a complex thought to adjust.
Yeah, it does seem like a complex thought. Yes. I think if pure devotee is eternally connected to Krishna, just Prabhupada is saying, I am always seeing Krishna. Krishna book is written that Krishna is saying, I am writing. We are so consciously in intimate contact with Krishna, then automatically that love just pours out for other living entities also. Yes. For practitioners, beginners, I think For somebody like me, it will be more regulative practice of devotional service rather than spontaneously love coming out. Okay, it's Krishna's love, part and parcel. That might be difficult or more.
Yeah, I just thought I'd share a little something, a thought, since the class was really deep and awesome. The Brahmamadva's Gaudiya Sampradaya, right?
Yes.
Brahmamadva's
Brahma Madhva Gaudiya
Sampradaya, right? And I remember reading that Gaudiya means is a word for molasses, which means, referring to Srimati Radharani, honey like molasses is the mood that the Gaudiya Vaishnavas should exude, is that honey-like affection for living entities like Srimati Radharani. So I just thought it was very...
it makes me remind. I was reading in one of the purports that Prabhupada is writing, see, all these living entities are engaged in their material duties. A Vaishnava does not want to engage with them. You do whatever you like. I want to serve Krishna. That's recommended by Krishna, that not be engaged with these people. Prabhupada saying still Vaishnavas want to engage other living entities in service of Krishna. The end of the purport, it was written. Even though 9th offense is to instruct the glories of the holy name to a faithless person. But a Vaishnava, out of love for Krishna and other living entities, tries to engage them. Krishna recommends not, but Vaishnava out of his own will tries to engage them. Yes. We will end. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.